everyone, this is Nancy at Sipping and Painting Hamden. We're at I-25 in Hamden in the city of Denver, and we offer about 10, 12, 14, depends on the week, classes in acrylic painting, watercolor painting, and Bob Ross oils. It's about 90% acrylic, and the others take up the rest. So I want to teach you this painting today called Best Friends, and I'm going to move my move so that you can see it in just a moment. And it's a great painting if you want to learn how to do sunsets. I'm going to show you how to do a sunset, and then we're going to fill in the bottom with rainbow colors. And then I'm going to show you how to draw in this boy and this dog without a template. We do offer templates here. We have them cut out, so if someone's not feeling confident, they can always trace this onto their canvas with a pencil. But I'm going to show you how to do it, not exactly, it won't be exactly perfect, but it'll be pretty good. I'm going to show you how to do it by looking for shapes in what you're trying to paint. All right, so I'm going to put this back and we're going to get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, first I'll show you my brushes. I have a large flat, a medium flat, and a small round. And I have a water jar. I have some napkins. And the paint colors I'm going to be using, the same that we do all the time on this YouTube station, is red, blue, and yellow, the three primary colors, and black and white. Black and white. All right. So the reason we only use those colors in our YouTube channel paintings is because I don't want you to be obsessed with finding the right paint, the right color. I want you to just relax, learn some techniques, and then as you get comfortable with painting, then you can start to learn more about paints and about canvases and other materials, the quality of materials. But when you're a beginning painter, it's just important to paint. Just paint. So whatever you have laying around is fine. If you don't have paints, you can use chalk or magic marker or crayons or pencils, whatever you have laying around. And let's create together, shall we? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my brush and I'm going to cover the canvas with water. Just plain old water. Easy peasy. You can brush it on with your big brush, or you can spray it on with a spritzer, whatever is easiest for you. A spray bottle. The reason I do this is where I live, where I'm painting in Denver, it's very dry, and acrylic paint dries in about 5 to 10 minutes. So you want to be sure that your paints don't dry so fast that you can't blend it all. So we keep it moist throughout the painting. If your paints start to feel dry, if they start to get thick, then just add a few drops of water. That's all you need to do. So I'm going to take my big brush and I'm going to cover my big brush on both sides with just plain old red. That's it. And I'm going to do the top in red. Just plain old red. Now, maybe the paint set that you had has alizarin crimson as your red. Maybe it has fire red, or, you know, there could be different colors of red. I'm putting it on a little thin. You can see my canvas was pretty wet, so I'm probably going to need 2 coats of this. But it doesn't really matter the kind of red that you have when you're just starting out. Just go with whatever. It might not look exactly like mine, but that's fine. Yours is going to look like yours, and that's what we want. That's what we're going for, is we want yours to be a celebration of who you are and your personality. And so yours, I want yours to look different than mine. I don't want it to be a carbon copy. And mine's not going to be a carbon copy of the sample. They never are. All right. So I've also painted the tops and the sides. You can see me doing that. And the reason I do that, that's called a gallery wrap. And when you paint the tops and the sides, then when you hang your painting, you don't have to have a frame. All right, so I'm going to come back, put another layer of that red on. But I'm going to use my dirty brush. I'm not even going to clean it. And I'm going to go right into my yellow. I'm going to, you can see my brush is dirty with red. And I'm going to go right into my yellow. And the reason I'm going to do that is I'm going to overlap about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches, right on top of that red at the base of that block. And I'm going to go over it. Now, you probably remember from elementary school that red plus yellow equals orange. And that's what I'm going for. I'm going for an orange color that's just a combination of yellow and red. That's all it is. And it's just going to blend and get lighter as it goes. I told you I was going to teach you about sunsets. So let me tell you a little bit about sunsets. I'm going to do the rest of this upper part of the painting, starting from the bottom of, starting from here, and I'll explain to you why I'm going to do that. So I am just making sure that my large brush, let me get a trash can here. I'm just making sure that my large brush is nice and clean. So I'm going to clean it in my water jar really well. Really well. I don't want any more red on that for now. And then I'm going to dab it on my napkin. You wash your brush in the water and then you just use your napkin to dab. Because if you do that, then you're not going through a forest full of napkins. You just use your water for that and just check it with your napkin and wipe off the excess moisture. All right, so when you're painting a sunset, where the sun is the brightest, it's usually white. If you were to look out at a sunset, at the very spot, unless the sun has gone down below the horizon, of course, but at the very spot where there is a sun on a sunset, it's white. It is white because it's so bright that it's white, okay? So my sunset's gonna start a little below the center, my horizon line. So I put white. Now, I put white on top of white. That's silly. Why would I do that? Well, because I want it to blend well. So then above the sunset line, then you put yellow. And then the yellow starts to get richer in color and into a golden color. And then the next color up the sunset is orange. Now, if these overlap a little, great. That's what they do in real life. But I wanted to tell you that because that's usually how a sunset goes. It usually goes white, yellow, orange, red. And then when it continues up, and you can see more, that it goes red. After the red, it goes purple, and then blue, and then black. There's very rarely any green in a sunset. I don't know why. Occasionally, you'll see reflections off of something else, and it might have some greenish tint, but that's usually because there's a reflection off of something else in that environment, because sunsets do pick up colors from what they're reflecting. So maybe there's a blue light over the water, over a lake or something. It might pick up a little bit of another color. But in general, sunsets go white, yellow, orange, red, and then purple and blue, and then black. So I've got my white down there. Now this painting, it's not a perfect sunset like that, but I did want to show you that. In this particular painting, the artist, I'm not the original artist on this, but in this particular painting, they put the white up here. I don't know why, but that's okay, no problem. So I'm just going to put the white where the original artist put some white. Yeah. I don't know why they did, but I don't need to know why. If I want to copy a painting, I just really want to honor what the original artist did and not overthink it. And I am copying this painting, so I am just going to add the white right in this section here. All right, nice. So I've got white, I've got yellow, I've got orange with streaks of white in it. I have red. And then when this dries a bit, I'm going to put on more red to make that slightly richer. But while I'm at it, I still have a little white on my brush and a little yellow on my brush. I could clean off my brush and then pick those up again, or I can just dip the tip in blue. And the reason I'm going to do that is because in this particular painting, they have a layer of blue and then they have a layer of green right below it. And as long as I have yellow on my brush and a little white, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to put it in. And then if I press harder and get some of this yellow on the back of my brush, it's mixing with that blue. And then I'm getting this lighter, more lime looking color. So if you wanted to clean your brush and then go into your colors, you could definitely do that. Sometimes I look for shortcuts. That's kind of being an artist, I look for shortcuts. All right, so if you clean your brush, then you pick up a little bit of yellow, a little bit of blue, and a little bit of white on your brush, and you will have something similar to that. And this is something similar to that. Does it have to be exactly the same? Absolutely not. No one's going to see the original painting. They're just going to see your painting of this sweet dog and this child. You can make the child a boy or a girl, your call. Or gender binary, non-binary. I appreciate that too. Anyway, so that's that step. I'm going to push this, put this paintbrush in the water. I'm going to clean it off. And then it looks like the next step has a little bit of blue mixing with a little bit of red. This is going to be fun. Got to clean that brush well. Clean it, clean it, clean it, and then dab it. Clean it and dab. Okay, so the next layer has a little bit of white in it. So I'm going to put some white to kind of break up what I'm going to do next a bit. And I'm going to overlap it a little bit. So that's how you get things to blend, is when you overlap them. All right, and then it looks like they picked up a little more blue, and then they started mixing in red with the blue. So my brush was clean, remember, it has a little blue on it, but it should be pretty easy to mix this with a little red now, a little pink. So I'm going to pick up a little red on my brush, and then I'm going to overlap that as well. And if it's too bright, too much, pick up a little white. And then streak it across, all the way from one side, all the way to the other. Just streak it across, streak it across. Is this a lake? I have no idea what this is. These are kind of funky colors. It's more like a rainbow, which is really fun and makes this a great painting for a kid's room, especially if that child has a dog and they are very fond of their dog. All right, so we're getting similar colors. The intensity of my blue up there is a little more than the intensity here, but again, it doesn't really matter. It just doesn't matter. All right, and then as I go down, looks like this painting, they picked up more blue. More blue. And maybe they knocked it down a little bit with some white. I could add some white in there if I wanted. And what I mean by knock it down is just make it a little more pastel. So I can pick up a little bit of white and I can streak that in and it will knock that down a bit. I don't think knocking down is a typical art word, but it's something that makes sense to me. So that's why I'm using it. Okay. All right, nice, we're doing great. And then again, more white and a little red on the same brush. And I'm gonna keep coming down. And when you see something that bright, you know what to do, right? We're gonna add a little white to it, knock it down. And the bottom of this painting is just altering that pink, which is a little white and a little red together, and then blue with a little white. just back and forth and in streaky stripes. Not perfection, just streaky stripes. And any place where you want to add a little bit of white in there, you just go right ahead. This is your painting, you make it yours. You do it exactly as you see fit. Because this is your world, your painting, and no one is ever going to see the original, except you. All right, so far so good. A little more blue. Little more white. I remember I'm always painting on the sides as I come down as well. And I do that so I won't need a frame. And like I said, this painting would make a very nice gift for a child or an adult with a dog, because this painting is such a beautiful salute to the friendship between a human being and a dog. All right. And if you've ever had a dog that you've loved, you know what I'm talking about. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it. It would make a great, great gift for someone who lost their pet recently. They would be very, very, very touched by it. So mine is looking pretty similar to the one up above. One thing I'm going to do, I'm going to clean my brush really well. Clean it really well. So I can get the red and blue off there. I'm going to dab it. And up here, it does look a little darker, a little more opaque than I want. So I'm going to add a little bit of white to it and just kind of lighten this area up. Give it a little more shimmer up here. All right. Oh, I messed up my horizon line. No problem. You can always fix it. And you know what? If it's not perfectly straight, who cares? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Okay. We're going to be looking at that cute, cute, cute dog and child, and they won't even notice that that line's not perfectly straight. All right, awesome. So it's pretty similar, I would say. Now I'm going to clean my brush one more time. I'm going to go back in and give that red another coat, because that red was looking kind of thin before. This particular paint I have kind of thin today. All right, so I'm gonna darken up this red with another coat. Another coat to give that red a little more intensity. And I want to show you, if you want to make a red or any color slightly deeper in color, I'll show you how to do that. And it'll work with any color you have. Let me just put this on a little bit more. All right. I'm just going to show you one quick trick. Anytime you want to make your colors slightly deeper, take about the size of a flea, a speck of black on your brush, and then mix it in with some of that color that you want darker and deeper. And then when you put that on, it will make that color darker and deeper. But don't use too much, because if you use too much, then it looks like you have black streaks in your painting. I just want this to look more like a burgundy. And okay, more like a burgundy when it dries. All right, so might need another flea. But just go easy, go easy. I like to say flea, or a grain of rice, something very, very tiny, a half of a lentil, whatever tiny means to you. It's a baby ladybug, not even a full-grown ladybug. Really tiny. Just use a little bit of that black in there, because if you use too much, you're going to overdo it. But skies should be darker at the top, and I'll tell you why. Because when you're looking at a painting, your eyes will go from the darkest part of the painting to the lightest part. And so when you're painting something that has a focal point around in here, you don't want the lightest part of the painting to be at the top in the sky. You want the darkest part to be. It's interesting, if you look at like Bob Ross paintings, what he'll do is he will make the sides and the corners dark, and it brings your eye into what you have here. And usually in a Bob Ross painting, that usually means some kind of a mountain scene, because that's what he's so famous for. All right, I'm washing my brush really well, dabbing it off to get all that paint off of it, all the water. And then where I put white before, I'm just going to blend that in a bit more because it was a little clumpy. Nothing wrong with clumpy. Some whole paintings are clumpy. If you ever saw a real Van Gogh up close, whew, lots of clump. All right. This sample has a little bit more white in there, so we're going to stick a little bit more white in there. Right around in here. And that light background is going to give a nice focal point for that boy and his dog staring at the sunset. So that's why all that light is there, that white. The artist knew just where they wanted you to look. They wanted you to look at the heads of this pair. All right, pretty good, pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to wash my brush again. Now, this is going to have to dry for a minute. If I get a little bit of wet paint mixed in with the black that I'm going to use, no big deal. The black will just take over and hide it. But I'm going to let it set a little bit so the whole thing doesn't slide right off as I'm trying to work it. When I am ready, I'm going to take my baby brush out of the water, knock off any drips. You don't want any drips on it. And then I'm going to use just black paint. Now, I'm going to show you, well, actually, before I do that, put aside your baby brush for a minute. Let's just go ahead and put in that deck. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to take my medium brush. I'm going to put black paint on both sides of that medium brush. I'm not scooping it like ice cream. I'm just coating the bristles. Okay, now, I want to make sure I can get at the bottom, okay? And I'm going to show you how to do that deck. Notice that on this deck, there's an angle here and an angle there, okay? So I'm going to start at the base, and I'm going to make it the widest at the base, and I'm just going to make a straight line about 2 inches from one side and about 2 inches from the other, just along the base, okay? I'm going to dip my paint in the brush again, my brush in the paint rather, the paint again. And this time I'm going to put another line right on top of it, but a little shorter, just a little shorter. Okay? I'm just stacking lines. I'm going to do it again. I'm just going to stack a line, this time a little shorter. Just stack it. Stack it right on top of the last one. Do it again, stacking a line. Just stack it right on top of the last one. Now I can touch up the corners if they're looking a little too furry, if I want them to just be a little more like boards. I can just touch them up with the corner of my medium brush and make them look more like boards. All right, again, I'm going to do one more row of this. Pull across, stop it a little shorter than the last one. Okay, so there's my first part of the deck. Now I'm going to leave a gap in between, so skip a line, okay? Take a breath, and then pretend there's a line there and you skipped it. And then I'm going to go up and then put in a line. Oops. It's okay if you make a mistake, no problem. Decks have warped boards in them. Just pretend that's a warped board. All right, so I've got one line there. I'm going to start to stack these too. And you know what? That's not straight, but actually, when you're painting a landscape of any kind, And wood on a deck is part of a landscape because it's a natural object, wood. Then these imperfections are actually perfect. Perfectly imperfect, because real objects have imperfections. Okay, I'm going to keep stacking. So that one was definitely not straight, but I'm going to embrace the imperfection. All right, and I stacked another one. All right, so we're working on that middle. Now, if my angle is too much, I can always come out and add to the side with my medium brush to make it a little wider. So if that whole angle was a little bit too much, I can extend each one of them out just a bit like that. Make it a little wider. All right. Now, I'm going to do one more of those lines across, just right on top, make it just a little shorter. There you go. Okay. Now, I'm noticing my angles are still coming in a little more angular, and like I said, you can always add to the tips. You can always make it wider, just like that. Just like that. Okay. All right, now I'm going to skip a line, and then I'm going to put then the next one will be where they're sitting. So I skipped a row there, you see that? All right, again, forward. Yeah. All right, so far so good. Now, again, my deck's a little thinner, but I can, I can pull it out a little bit by tweaking it. You can always tweak. You can always tweak. But just make sure you're pulling it across straight. Just pull it across straight, pull it across straight, pull it across straight, pull it across straight every time. Straight as you can. No one's perfect. I had a group of older women in here one time, and they were painting keys on a keyboard, and I tell you, it was so hard. That was a crazy painting for them to be painting, and we had to help them a lot. But that's only been once in 5 years. All the other times, about 15 times a week, we paint landscapes. And in a landscape, if you paint a tree too straight, it doesn't look like a tree. So about 15 times a week, with the exception of that one piano painting, about 15 times a week, we tell people, don't be so straight. So if you hear someone say, well, I can't paint because I can't paint a straight line, well, nobody paints straight lines. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. We don't want you to paint straight lines. If you're painting a natural scene, you don't want anything to be straight. You want it to look natural, and that is not perfect. Perfection is the enemy of art when it comes to most paintings, unless you're painting, piano keys. All right, so I've got a deck here, I've got a deck here, or not a deck, what are those called? It's a walkway. Dock. All right, so got that. Now I'm going to clean my brush because I'm not going to use the medium brush anymore. I'm just going to switch to my baby brush. So really clean your brushes in between and then leave them in the water to soak, because acrylic paint is really not fun if it's if your brushes are dry with acrylic paint on them. You will ruin your brush. So you want to always keep your brushes clean. All right. Now, can I get away with putting another line on top of wet paint? Probably not. Maybe. Oh, that would be crazy stupid if I messed up. All right, made them a little thicker. do me a favor, if you do that, wait till it's a little drier. All right, but it just made my deck a little bit more deck-like. Okay, cool. Now, if this were really a deck, let me just show you. You would have a piece of wood connecting this that way and that way, and this way too, right? If you're building a deck, a dock, you would make sure there's a piece of wood connecting those boards. Okay, so I've got that. Now I'm going to show you how to approximate these figures in this space. It's not going to look exactly like this. If I wanted it to look exactly like it, I could use one of these templates. We do have templates here. See that? But I don't want to. I just don't want to. I want to get the practice of making people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you where I would start and how I would do it. All right, so his head is about the size of a walnut. And then let's say it's this length, 2 of my fingers this length. And then I can count down 1 pair, 2 pair, 3 pair, about 3 more pairs down would be his body. Now, he has a pretty long torso. Just keep that in mind. So 1, 2, 3, and then his head is right about here. So I'm going to make a circle about the size, a little bigger than a walnut. Maybe it's a plum, a prune plum. Okay. All right. Got a prune plum. And it might be slightly more elongated than perfectly round. So not a true oval, but a little bit longer than a circle. Okay, nice. All right. Now you always have to give people a neck. When we paint people, that is something I see frequently, is people forget to give their people a neck. All right, so the neck is about as wide as a finger. I'm not going to put my finger in that, I'm just going to guess it. Okay, now he's got a neck. All right, it looks like a hot air balloon so far. All right, and then he's going to have shoulders. Now the shoulders are going to come out about the half. If you could divide this head in half, right? From this side of his head, it's going to come out about another half a head to the circle, to the shoulders, I mean. And put a dot. Same on the other side. So it's about a little less than an inch on either side of that neck. There's another dot. Don't put it higher than the neck, okay? And then take from the neck, touch the circle. From the neck, touch that dot, I mean. From the neck, touch that dot. Okay? Now, his arm extends out to the dog. So we're going to pull this one out. And on the other side, it just drops down to about there. That's his elbow. That's his forearm. And I would say that's about as wide as his shoulders. And then his hands are in his pocket. Interesting. Hand is in the pocket. And then I'm going to come right down. All right. Now, I want to show you something. If you don't have what I have, let it dry and then paint over it. Let it dry and paint over it. Okay? So if yours isn't looking like mine, just put your brush in the water and always clean it, of course. I always clean my brushes before I pick them up rather than after, because I'm afraid if I forget, I'll just have paint on it. So when I'm putting it in the water, I clean it automatically. If yours isn't looking like mine, no problem. Let's do this. Let it dry, and then you're just going to paint over it with the same colors we used in the background. Here's another way. If you go in and do the rest of it with white, you are going to have something that's a little more forgiving because there's white streaked in here. So I'm going to put this dot right below the point of his shoulder, okay? This is going to be that underarm area, all right? And then I'm going to pull down to the waist. And then on this side, his hip goes around. Now I can cover this whole thing with black. That's why I'm doing it in white, okay? So this comes out over his jeans. This one, the area that comes out over the jeans is hidden by the arm, okay? All right, so now I could go ahead and fill that whole thing in with black, and I would have my human being. Now, if you wanted, there might be a little space in there to put a little light in with the arm. There's not on this one, but you could do that. So I'm going to take this opportunity to go ahead and fill it in, and then I'm going to let my guy dry, okay? So if you did it in white, you're going to have to let that white dry before you can cover it over in black. And it doesn't take long to dry. Acrylic paint takes about, well, 5, maybe 10 minutes. So I'm just filling in. I'm avoiding that white for now because I need to let that sit just a little bit before I can paint over it. But I'm just going to fill in this guy, not sky, this guy. Yeah, see, it made gray. Probably not the best thing in the world, but I can always go over that with more black. Oh, that's fun. I can put some gray in my deck. Why not? My world. You can do your world. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So this does not look like a boy. This is a man. And I know that because his head is so much smaller than his body. So if I want to make it more youthful, I can make it a bigger head. Because kids have much bigger heads than adults. And in this particular painting, he has a little hairstyle. And you can put hair on in a style or not. He has a part on his head and the part showing. And then he has some kind of loose hair right down here. And again on the other side. Now I've seen people paint pigtails for a girl. That's fun. You could do a girl. You could do pigtails. You could do whatever you want. It's your painting. Paint the person that you know you're going to give this painting to. Okay. Now for the dog. This looks like a golden retriever. It could be a lab. I don't really know. But I'm going to give you an idea. Now the head of this dog is about the same height as this person's head. So that makes that easy, but it's a different shape. It's a different shape. I'm going to show you. Just watch. Okay. So this dog has a flatter head than the person. It's flatter. And then it comes down in more like a trapezoid, not a round circle. Okay, and a trapezoid means it's larger at the base than it is at the top. Now, he doesn't have a perfectly flat head, it's just a little flatter. Okay, now this actually, his head's a little longer than that. And I'm just going back and forth and looking, that's all I'm doing. And then his ears, let me chisel this brush. Chisel, chisel. Now my dog's not gonna look perfect. That's a pretty good dog there. But again, I'm doing this without a template. And usually we use a template. So I'm just gonna show you. So this is more of a trapezoidal kind of head. Okay, now since this yellow is dry, I can come in and steady my finger. But this ear sticks out not as high as the top of the head, starting a little bit lower off to the side, and it goes up, and then it comes down and then goes out to the side and then comes back in. So it goes out, down, comes back in. Okay? And on this side, I'm setting it with my hand. Goes out, out. Oops. Let's see, I don't want to steady it in the wet paint. Goes out, down, and back in. Okay? Now there's this little area that looks like a collar. So I'm going to touch that and I'm going to make that just stick out a little bit wider. Now maybe this dog is not a, maybe it's not a golden retriever, maybe it's something big, it's St. Bernard. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what it is when I'm done. But remember, we have templates here. If you really want it to be exact, like your breed of dog, then use a template. Don't do what I'm doing. But if you just want this to be a generic dog, then you can do this. Now you can do it in white. If you did this whole thing in white, then if you messed up, you can go over it in black. White would be more forgiving because you could blend it in all these colors, okay? So now I'm gonna come down from just inside that collar, and I'm gonna, just so that that boy is putting his arm around that dog. Now this dog's shoulder, it's kind of interesting. He has a shoulder on this side, but not on that side. I'm not quite sure why, but I'm gonna try to copy it. Got a bump there, and then it comes in. Okay, let's see what we've got. All right, not bad. All right, and then this part is kind of easy. It's just much larger than, and it goes out and down, kind of heart-shaped a little bit. And here it goes out and down. Those are the way dogs sit. It's so funny, the way a dog sits. And let's see what we've got. We'll see what we've got when we've, now it's kind of funny, if we wanted to fix it, we'd have to go bigger than the dog. You can't very well take black paint off. That's why it's good to do this in white first. But I was feeling like I could do it in black. So, all right, so I'm pretty happy with that actually. And now the tail is pretty easy. From this corner down here, I just go up. That's all it is. I just go whoop, whoop. That's it. And then I'm going to make it a little wider, whoop, and then I'm going to stop there because this dog's going to have layers in his tail. Like that, layers. All right, I'm pretty happy. What do you guys think? I think this boy is definitely older than this boy. You can tell he has more manly shoulders, but he still looks like a boy. He's got this kind of boy haircut. And the dog is huge. So I'm thinking when they got a little older, maybe they became this. Who knows? It's pretty close. So I'm just going to leave this alone now. I'm good. I think I'm going to, on this original, I think I'm going to put a little piece of wood. That's bugging me that those are floating. All right. Now, I think we're good. I think we're good. Okay. Oops. I'm kind of a perfectionist that way. Just want to make sure that the wood's underneath those boards, not on top. All right. All right, I'm pretty happy with this. I always like to step back about 15 feet from my paintings before I say I'm done, because it's common that I can't see mistakes up close. My philosophy, and you're going to hear me say this a lot, my philosophy for painting is like, it's like raising teenagers. You work really hard at it, and you can't really see what you've accomplished until you get some space. And then you can, you know, give them a break from you, you take a break from them, give them a little room, and then you can see them from a more realistic perspective. And then when you come back, you'll love them even more. Yeah, and I've had teenagers tell me that it's just like that raising parents. Okay, so when I'm done, all I'm going to do is I'm going to use this baby brush. I'm going to chisel that baby brush back and forth. You can choose any color you like. This is how I chisel paint. I had a drop of blue mixed in with my white, so I'm just going to take advantage of that. I'm going to twist my baby brush back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the reason I'm doing that is it gives me a little sharper point. And then I'm just going to come in here, bottom right-hand corner, and I'm just going to put my initials. That's it. I'm done. All right. There's my painting, and I'm going to go stick this on our sale table. We have, oh my goodness, so many paintings that are stacking up, and then we sell them for peanuts, next to nothing. So if you're in Denver and you want some really cheap original art, come on down. Sipping and Painting Hamden in Denver, and I can't wait to paint with you in person sometime. So come on down and visit us, and let's paint together. Thank you so much for painting with me today. I hope you enjoyed this painting of Best Friends. And, oh, forgot this almost. Cheers to you and your best friends. Bye-bye.